Moving over now to Asian markets, where stock markets closed little changed on Friday following a roller coaster session that sent shares moving between positive and negative territory as investors grappled with the consequences of a more dovish U.S. Federal Reserve. The mainland Chinese market saw gains on the day as the Shanghai Composite rose slightly to about 3,104 points, while the Shenzhen Composite gained 0.20%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng closed about 0.14%. Japan's Nikkei 225 closed slightly higher at 21,627.3 as shares of index heavyweights SoftBank Group and Phoenix jumped 2.73% and 1.40%. And U.S. stock index futures fell on Friday amid jitters sparked by the Federal Reserve's cautious outlook for the world's largest economy. At around 5:50 a.m. Eastern Time, Dow Jones Industrial Average futures were down 130 points, indicating a decline of more than 100 points at the open. Futures on the S&P 500 and Nasdaq 100 were seen mixed. On the data front, manufacturing and services PMI data for March is due at around 9:45 a.m. Eastern Time. Meanwhile, Tiffany is expected to publish its latest quarterly results shortly before the opening bell. And back here in Africa, severe planned power cuts termed load shedding at South Africa's state-run utility Eskom are expected to shave 0.3 percentage points of first-quarter GDP growth. A global investment bank and securities and investment management firm, Goldman Sachs, says if the current intensity of load shedding were to persist in 2019, it could subtract up to 0.9 percentage points from South Africa's annual growth. The continent's most industrialized economy has suffered from some of the worst power cuts in several years and a major challenge for President Cyril Ramaphosa 2 months before an election at which he will try to reverse the decline in voter support for the African National Congress. Well, let's bring in our correspondent in Johannesburg, Vacuum Mele, to bring us up to speed with the latest developments on the electricity supply and, of course, outlook for next week. Hello, Berkey. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good afternoon.
So what is the situation with the power problem?
The power problem is still going on. It's still on and off in most parts of the country. Even the president himself was stuck in a train this week due to some power cuts. He was stuck in a train for a few hours. So there's still the load shedding schedule where you basically a certain area loses power for a certain number of hours a day. So that is still ongoing up to now. But they have promised that by the end of the weekend, it will be lesser and lesser. But the power cuts are still going on throughout.
So far, how are businesses coping with the current situation? And do you see this getting in the way of Cyril Ramaphosa being re-elected after the elections in May?
Businesses, especially, the smaller businesses have been hit the hardest because most of them cannot afford to get backup generators. And the rest of the businesses, the bigger businesses, have opted to get generators to substantiate so that by the time the electricity power is cut, they at least have some backup generators to proceed with their business. But the smaller guys have really been hit the hardest. As I'm saying, some of them, especially the tailors and some small shop owners, have been struggling to keep their businesses afloat. And this will, most if not all the opposition parties are using this as some sort of campaigning mechanism now. They're using this against the ANC government and against President Ramaphosa. So it may affect him a bit, but we are yet to see how they will do in the upcoming election.
And how have the markets reacted to this situation this week?
Well, the rand has been weak. If you look at it from Monday to yesterday, it was in its low, but it's only today that it recovered a bit. But from between Monday and Wednesday especially, the rand was quite low. So the market, the investors are not happy, and the investment block is also getting low. And as you can observe also, the bonds have also weakened, and interest is on the verge of rising again with the banks.
And looking into next week, the Reserve Bank will be having its monetary policy meeting. What are the expectations from this meeting in the light of the state of the economy?
Well, most people are expecting like changes in administered prices, changes in government facilities. And a lot of people have also been eyeing that maybe they will talk about changes in wages, like increase in wages and the labor unit costs. Most people are concerned about the money supply and credit extensions, given that, the country is going through a very difficult time right now. And some people are looking also at the exchange rate development. All eyes are also on the component of domestic and external demand.
And are there other newsworthy events to look out for next week?
Well, the state capture inquiry is still going on. We saw another minister coming in today, former minister actually, for sports and recreation coming today. And then, of course, today there was a statement released about the former president who made the point that their nuclear deal, that is one of the main points of the state capture, could have been a solution to the current situation in the country, the current power situation. So we are still yet to see the ripple effects of that next week, because he just made the statement today. So we'll see how people will react towards that. And also we have a lot of campaigning going on, and a lot of political parties are all out campaigning towards the upcoming elections, as well as we are awaiting to see the results of the court, because there are some queries about certain two parties. One party took another party to court concerning their registration with the IEC. So we are yet to see what will happen during the week next week.
All right, Becky. Well, we'll look out for those news for next week, and hopefully we will talk more about them next week. Enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you for your time. I will take a break now, and when we return, Tunisia's central bank keeps interest rate unchanged. Plus, a crossover to the equities market for market updates.